BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. And I'd like to say happy day or happy evening whenever you happen to be hearing this. And it's a great pleasure to be able to relate this information about your Kundalini awakening experience. I would like to, first of all, as always, I'd like to thank Santara and her family for setting up this vector of communication for you to hear about the Kundalini. And so, Santara, I know you're there, and I'd like to say thank you to you.
You're very welcome, Chrism.
And I'd like to say thank you to your husband and your family there in Ireland, in the Kingdom of Kerry. As some of you who are listening know, we come once a week, reaching out into the universe, or the multiverse, with information about the Kundalini. My name is Chrism, and I have been teaching Kundalini for about 8 years, and I've had Kundalini for 23 in the awakened state. This information can also be found at the website, which is Kundalini Awakening Systems 1.com, and that's the numeral 1.com, and also at Kundalini Awakening Seminars.com. And in addition, we have online communities. We have one on Yahoo, which is Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com. And then we have several on Facebook, one of them being Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Facebook.com. But also we have Kundalini Apostrophe on Facebook, and we have a Kundalini Ashram on the Facebook, in addition to Kundalini Healing on Facebook too. And we also have, back on Yahoo, another Kundalini Healing community there, so that if you or a loved one would like to experience healing from a Kundalini level, you can go ahead and sign up for those groups and receive Kundalini blessings by many, many people that have the Kundalini. Today's topic is about Kundalini and the Dreams. Kundalini and the Dreams. But we'll get to that in a moment here. I'd like to open up the microphone to Santara. She has some announcements she would like to make.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. Well, I would like to talk to you about the Kundalini retreat that will be happening in Santa Rosa on April the 20th and April the 21st. This is a Kundalini awakening retreat that is being led by Chrism. And on this retreat, the overall emphasis is on helping each person find his or her own unique path into the grace that is their Kundalini awakening. So we will arrive at the retreat venue in Santa Rosa on Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. and we will be together throughout the day and into the night until about 9:30 p.m. So it will be a long day, an intensive retreat, and it will be wonderful. On Sunday, we'll start a little bit earlier at 9 a.m. and we will finish at 5 p.m. So I hope that you'll be able to join us for what promises to be a very special gathering of Kundalini people. So, if I could give you the website address or at least the email address that you can write to me on, I can give you more information. That is kundalinimatters@gmail.com. The cost of the retreat is $200. I nearly said euros, $200. And we are taking deposits now of $100 to secure a place. So write to me at kundalinimatters@gmail.com and we can communicate and I will give you further information. So I think that's it, Chrism. Have I left anything out?
No, that sounds great.
No?
And,
yeah. Okay.
Thank you for making the announcement as well. Very nice. So this episode is about Kundalini and the Dreams. Now, there are two related aspects of Kundalini and the Dream. The first aspect would be the person who is coming into the Kundalini, and the Kundalini hasn't quite made its appearance yet, but it's starting to influence the dream life. And then the second area is after the Kundalini has already made its appearance, and it begins to initiate its teachings upon a person. So I will take the first area first. When you're beginning to approach Kundalini, within the dream life, one of the first things that may begin to occur with you are specific forms of dream phenomena. And in this, at the beginning of this phenomena, you may start dreaming about butterflies. Butterflies or spiders or snakes or lions, tigers, wolves, bears, creatures of this sort, apex predators typically. Even though I know the butterfly is not an apex predator, the butterfly itself represents more of the actual transformation of the Kundalini upon the human being. We become that Kundalini butterfly. Okay, and so you'll be dreaming, and all of a sudden you may see a red butterfly coast over to you and land on you. And as it lands on you, it's a very beautiful butterfly. It may land on your left side, and this is an indication of inviting you to begin to recognize the Kundalini in your system. Another aspect of the dream phenomena, which is actually more common, is the dreaming of many or a singular serpent in your dream. Now, I don't want you to mistake this for the Christian understanding that the snake in the apple tree and Eve eating the apple and all of that. This has nothing to do with that. This has more to do with the snake representing the human spinal cord in the S-curve that it is in most people, which resembles a snake standing on its tail. Okay, this is the symbology, not anything of a Christian theme. So you may see snakes in your dream, and sometimes they will be coming at you. And of course, your natural inclination is going to be to run. So I would like you to resist running. This will happen to you in more than one dream. You'll have a whole series of dreams that are unique. Each one is unique, but it will have a similar theme to it. And in that theme, in some way, you are interacting with a serpent. Now, these serpents can come to you in the thousands. When I was having my serpent dreams, I remember one dream where my room was absolutely filled with serpents, and yet I wasn't afraid. And you as well may experience times when you're absolutely okay with having this many snakes in the room or wherever you are. In another scenario, the dreams can manifest snakes that are as big as trains, freight trains, and this to some folks, this indicates a person's going to have a greater scenario of challenge when they do have the Kundalini. It's almost like the size indicates the amount of challenge a person will have. Although, I did have snakes the size of freight trains, and because I didn't have teachers and there were no books and there was no internet when my Kundalini awakened, I had some fairly challenging experiences with it. On the other aspect of the dream phenomena, you may have hypnagogic dreams of tigers or the big cats. Typically the tiger, though. The tiger will come to you in your dream, and it won't necessarily attack you. It may just want to cuddle up next to you. So much so that you may actually feel, you may You may have sort of an event in your bedroom where you're half asleep and half awake, and in that state, you'll actually feel a tiger come upon the bed. The bed will move. It will go down, and you'll feel this tiger lying down next to you. It's actually quite a beautiful, comforting experience. This can happen with tigers, jaguars, mountain lions, lions, African lions, and any of the big cats, really. So these are some of the phenomena that can happen as the Kundalini is approaching an individual. Another dream phenomena that can occur that is far more challenging is a giant snake will come at you and try to eat you. And I'm going to suggest that you just hold your arms out and say, eat me. As soon as you are eaten by the snake, what will happen is you'll immediately be transferred to another area of your dreams, and you will have this amazing feeling of having completed a fear test. Positively, you will have passed the fear test. And this is really what is happening with the Kundalini when it sends a snake out to make it appear that it's attacking you. It's actually just helping you to overcome your fear. And I know you're thinking, well, that's a heck of a way to help a person overcome their fear. And it is, and it was that way for me too. But eventually, I just became aware that this was something that I needed to work with because it wasn't going away. It wasn't going away at all. And so I decided to make a choice to stand my ground and offer myself in surrender to the serpent. And the serpent, of course, I knew it represented Kundalini at that time. And I want you to know that too. You need to understand the serpent represents Kundalini. The tiger represents Kundalini. The butterfly represents the Kundalini process. Okay? The eagle represents the Kundalini. Apex predators represent the Kundalini. The Kundalini is communicating to you that it is the top of the spiritual food chain, so to speak. So as these giant snakes come to you, or a dog with red eyes comes at you, this is another fairly common theme, like a dog or some sort of an attack dog will come to you and actually attack you and try to bite you. And I'm going to suggest that you just let it happen. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you unless you really think that it's going to hurt you, and then you may create a level of pain for that to occur. But you have to remember that red is the color of the first chakra. Red, so red eyes. So Shakti Kundalini, the sacred feminine, is looking at you from those red eyes on that dog. And it's growling, and it's doing all of these things, and yet it's really there to communicate with you and also to give you that fear challenge. Now, I've had plenty of students that have the black dog with the red eye dream. So, like as I mentioned, this is fairly common. It's not to be afraid of, and it's not to be run away from. The thing about running away from these dream symbols with the Kundalini is that they'll always repeat themselves in some other form. Now, I'm gonna go into a different area here now. In the dream state, there is a very defined language that Kundalini will speak with the person. And you must note that I am talking about the Kundalini as if it is a sentient, conscious energy, because it is a sentient, conscious energy. And it knows you. It knows you better than you know you. And so it will communicate in this special language with you in the dream state, but also it may carry over in the waking state, during work or during, play. And so part of the language setup is symbols. Certain symbols will mean certain things. An apex predator typically is the symbol of Kundalini, but not always. After the Kundalini comes up, we're moving into the next stage. After the Kundalini comes up, the Kundalini will begin to specifically focus on your issues that are blocking the Kundalini. Now, this is far more of a defined and refined communication for you. This is specific to you and your issues. So let's say that you're the kind of person that will hold a grudge. Well, it will begin to formulate scenarios in your dream life that will help you to realize that, number one, you're a person that holds grudges. A lot of people are in denial about, how any of their challenging behaviors even exist. So you may learn that you are indeed a person who holds grudges. And remember, the Kundalini knows you better than you know you, and it will come out and it will be truthful with you. Brutally truthful at times. So you'll learn that you're a person that holds grudges, and then it will begin to show you through examples of how you can begin to release your grudges and forgive those people that you're holding a grudge against. In this way, the Kundalini begins to really educate you on what it is you need to do in order to open to the clarity, the integrity, the love, and the lack of blockage that a Kundalini awakened person can have. It opens you up to potentials, but it's up to you to partake of those potentials. Some of you may be able to see how absolutely important this is to you. So I will encourage you to begin a dream journal. I don't care if you've had the Kundalini as long as I've had or longer. I don't care if you haven't got it yet. For all people within the Kundalini context, start your dream journal. The Kundalini will communicate directly with you in the language of Kundalini symbols in the dream state. And it is a well worth habit to be able to partake of this. And what will happen is, as you make this journal, and at first with the journal you may just, I dreamed of a red butterfly on my left arm, and that's all you remember. And then a couple months down the line you'll be able to say, I remember a red butterfly that flew to me from the sun and landed on my left arm and then the top of my head. And so your memory will become far more detailed the more you do this. Very, very important to keep the practice up. Before you go to sleep, I'm going to suggest that you seed your consciousness with the instruction to remember your dreams. So before you go to sleep, you just turned off the light, you put the book away, you turned off the light, you're kind of snuggling down in the bed and getting ready to go to sleep, and you say to yourself, I will remember my dreams to write in my journal. I will remember my dreams to write in my journal. Kundalini, help me remember my dreams that I may write them in my journal. And you will be helped to remember your dreams. Matter of fact, you may wake up right after a dream sequence that the Kundalini wants you to record. It wants you to record these things. You're receiving the information, yes, on an unconscious level. You'll always be receiving the information. But it wants you to receive it on a conscious level. Let that conscious level step in and begin to make the behavioral modifications that need to be made so that the Kundalini person can begin to refine themselves into an expression of partnership with the Kundalini. Not only partnership, but it's almost like a familial connection, a connection to the Sacred Mother, a connection to the Sacred Father, a connection to this divine energy, which is natural for every human being. This is a natural energy for everyone, although not everyone wakes up at the same time and shouldn't. So within the dream context, begin to pay attention to the level of journaling that you can do. Go out and buy a journal and a special pencil that you can take, put right next to your bed. Go out and get a portable handheld voice recorder so that you can talk the dreams right into that recorder. It's hugely beneficial to the person within the Kundalini awakening experience to begin to receive the teachings from his or her Kundalini at that time in the current reality that they're having. Now, I have to tell you that it's mating season here in California. A little digression here, and I have large wild game birds outside the door, and you may hear them making their sounds. And so I just want you to know there's nothing wrong with your computer or anything. It's just that it's spring has sprung, I think, in California right now. So just be advised. And you may also hear the birds that are behind me as well. We kind of live in a game preserve, an inner city game preserve. So just an FYI for you. Now, with the dreams, sometimes the dreams will not be the most pleasant thing in the world. We all begin the Kundalini journey with levels of blockage. Some are worse than others. Everybody's different. We all come into this with different karma. So within that understanding, if you have a bad dream, say you have a dream where you're standing in a field and you're watching a house burn. Well, that house would be your body. That burning would be the Kundalini that is changing your body. The you that is standing outside the house watching that is your conscious self and your ego self, kind of mixed together. Hopefully, your conscious self is stronger than your ego self, but it doesn't always turn out that way. So even though your ego self and your conscious self is going, wow, that house is on fire. Wow, boy, what a burn that is. It's actually you that is being consumed by the divine fire. This can begin to give you an idea of how these dream symbols are working. Now, if you go into the bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Border Books and Music, or whatever bookstore that's in your country, city, you'll find that the Dream Interpretation book. These books do not cover Kundalini dream symbolism. They do not cover Kundalini language symbolism. And so, believe me, I've looked and I've read these books, and they're just not there. They have a completely different, sometimes a Freudian, sometimes a Jungian take on the dream phenomena, Jung's archetypes and these types of things. And I think for people that don't have Kundalini, they can be quite helpful. But for people with Kundalini need to learn Kundalini symbolism. Now, the rishis from India, from ancient India, the rishis that wrote the Vedas, they had a better understanding of the Kundalini. And if you go into the Rig Veda, you can read some areas there where the rishis are actually describing Kundalini-based dream symbols. They're talking about the tigers. They're talking about the lily, the sacred lily that grows there in India. They're talking about Amrita and the different symbols of Kundalini awakening. They're talking about different ideas and understandings that can only come from the Kundalini awakening. So if you can find a version of the Rig Veda, or even just outtakes, I have this book here that takes outtakes of the Rig Veda, and you get an English translation. But even with the English translation, you get the Kundalini energy through reading that Rig Veda. I may have mentioned in some of my previous conversations with you that Kundalini is of a divine nature, and it never fades. It never grows less potent the way other energetic systems or physical-based materials systems will do. They degrade with time. Divinity does not degrade with time. Okay. The Kundalini that is existent in the Rig Veda is just as powerful as when they first wrote it. Now, within the Rig Veda, the wording, the phrases that they use in the Sanskrit language, there's a cleaner reception if you're able to not have to have it translated into English, but it is still there, and it is still there, and a Kundalini person can feel it. So just as an aside, a lot of the symbols that you'll see in the Rig Veda, you'll also see replicated in the dream life. So know this, and if you feel, as many of you will feel pulled to read many spiritual books for a time before the Kundalini turns off that desire. Before the Kundalini turns off that desire, you'll start to collect an amazing library of spiritual books, as I did, as other people have. Make sure you include in that selections from the Rig Veda. The Rig Veda is one of the oldest compilations of knowledge that exists in our world today. I think it goes back 7,000 or 8,000 years. So they do have a direct relationship with the language of the Kundalini, and also, therefore, with the language of symbols that the Kundalini uses in its education of that person who is being given the Kundalini at the time. This will last for a long, long time in your dream life. You may have a series of 4 or 5 different dreams per night that all have Kundalini information being given to you. Okay, and most of it, if not all of it, will be about what you need to do as an individual to bring about a greater flow and understanding of what you need to do in adjusting your behaviors with regard to having Kundalini come in a greater way. I'll take these little pauses just to take a sip of tea. With the Kundalini, specific behaviors that, for those of you that are practicing the safeties, you'll recognize these behaviors in the safeties. So, for instance, forgiveness is a big, big theme of understanding and behavioral modification within the safeties, but also within the dream life. So, if you're a person who is suffering from different types of challenging fears, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of loss, of some sort of a loss, or the want of gain, you need this or you need that, the Kundalini will come to you and basically begin to offer you behavioral modifications that allow you to release these fears. These behavioral modifications are to be enacted within your daily life expression. If you're a person that works at night, then it would be your daily dream expression. If you're a person that works in the day, then it would be your nightly expression. But whenever you start to dream, this information will come to you. And so I think I actually reversed those. So if you dream at night, then it's the daytime that Kundalini wants to see you enact these behavioral modifications. And it's the opposite if you're working at night. Yeah. Whenever you start to dream. Another tangent of information about this is during the earlier activation sequences, say you've only had Kundalini for 4 months. Well, and it's coming on you very strong and wild, and it's causing your emotions to go completely crazy, like it will do if you don't know what's happening and you're putting fear into the equation. Your emotions can become fairly out of control. The Kundalini will come to you in your dreams and basically tell you, say, hey, your emotions are kind of out of control here. There's no need to fear. There's no need to fear. Don't fear me. accept me, let me come into you. It's okay. If the person doesn't know what's happening, that's not really going to matter to them. The ego is going to go nuts with fear, and then the Kundalini will try to guide the person in the dream state, but also in the daytime state, to a source of information that will help them not have to be in fear all the time. That will help them, be able to try to figure out how to live their life without fear, accepting the Kundalini within them. This is what happened to me. As I said before, I didn't have internet or any kind of a real resource for my Kundalini until I was already 8, 9 years, 10 years into it. And, boy, it was really nice when the internet was up and going and people were starting to talk about Kundalini on these little chat rooms. Yahoo, I think, was the first one that I landed in. And, wow, what a gift. But before that, it was all the Kundalini direct to me. And it really, when you're receiving direct instruction from the Kundalini, it really has its effect on the level of phenomena that you receive. Intuitively, you begin to understand that you can do things that you normally wouldn't be able to do and that nobody else is normally allowed to do. You can do a countdown by 10 when a phone is going to ring. You just know that it's like, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, there it goes. You can manifest in the physical reality certain forms of phenomena that you normally shouldn't be able to do. So part of the intuitive instruction that you're getting from the dream state is actually enhanced when it's just the Kundalini and you together on this path. But the Kundalini will often bring a teacher into the situation. Kundalini has brought many students to me as a teacher for them because it just wasn't working for them the other way. When you've got a wife and kids and a job to hold down, you've got enough pressure right there. And then to have the Kundalini on top of that, well, you may need some help, and it's a blessing to serve. So it's a win-win scenario for everybody. Win-win-win, actually. Win for the Kundalini, win for the person, win for the teacher who gets to give a person service, as we're doing here in these broadcasts. So as you're inside the Kundalini already and you're having these issues come up for yourself, take a moment and begin to agree to make these changes. There is no longer anything for you that is, oh, well, that's just a dream, or, oh, well, that is just my imagination, and so I dreamed this way, and, oh, I think I had some really weird sushi, as they say, gas station sushi, and, oh, my gosh, that caused me to have some strange dreams. Well, no, I don't care what you put in your system unless it's a hallucinogen. The Kundalini has taken over your dream response. And even though it's going to be strange at times, and it will be, it is not your imagination. It is real. It's as real as the ground underneath your feet. Make that change in your perception. Understand that when you have Kundalini, and you're in the second stage, where you're not being prepared to have it, you're actually having it, you need to make a perceptual choice. And the choice I'm going to suggest you make is that Kundalini is with you all the time, day and night, and it has absolute control over what it is you're dreaming and what it is you're receiving through the dream life. Now, you may see different faces as you're going to sleep, as you begin to sleep. And this can be fairly disconcerting for people who are not used to seeing disembodied faces floating up them on their ceiling as they try to go to sleep, or as they're just waking up. What these are is a Kundalini person will attract a lot of attention in the spiritual areas. And let me tell you, the spiritual areas are far greater and bigger than any of the physical areas. This universe, this multiverse, is but like a drop of water in an ocean compared to the spiritual dimension. So just understand that. And within the spiritual dimension, there's plenty of consciousness. And there are those entities that are looking at the idea of what it is to go through the earth system of enlightenment. One of the harder schools of enlightenment that is offered for spiritual consciousness to make its evolution. And so, the whole idea is like, okay, these consciousness, just like me, are going into this physical creation, this human body with blood and bones and muscles. They only get 5 senses and maybe a few others every now and again, but for the most part, they just get 5 senses. Oh my God! I have millions of senses, and they get 5. So basically, you are being observed, and then for the Kundalini person is being observed, having the end product of the evolutionary system given to them. The end product meaning, they're coming into their enlightenment. And it is this enlightenment. This is, a lot of spiritual consciousness will say, well, okay, if I have to have only 5 senses and I have to go through all of this stuff, what's my payout going to be? So they look at their payout and they're kind of going, so the Kundalini is the beginning of the payout for all of these different lifetimes spent in refinement towards spiritual evolution, which is bringing me closer to the Creator, to the all that is, the divine levels. Oh, okay. So, well, I'm gonna watch this Chrism guy, and let's see how he handles it. Oh my God, what a mess! So they watch this Chrism guy, and they go, "Oh my gosh, he's having such a hard time," but he is receiving, and he's making at least 1 or 2 good choices per year. Gosh, how would it be if he had a teacher, And so they get to see you, they get to learn from you, they get to begin to make a choice of, is this something that they would like to do? Is this something that they're feeling called to emerge into a greater evolution towards the divine? Well, this earth practice is a pretty strong school, and it's tough, and it's hard, and it's difficult because we have the 5 senses, and we have all these levels of pain and sacrifice and surrender and pleasure and fear and all these different things that we have to live through and go through, and so they're looking at that and they're learning. And another aspect of these faces that you may see are people that have known you from other existences, people who, kind of keep tabs on this Chrism character. It's like, okay, what's he doing this time? So they'll pop in and they'll have a look at what this Chrism guy is doing, or you, or anybody that's having Kundalini, and they'll just have a look at you and watch you and kind of feel what it is you're doing and feel what it is, how you're handling the situation. And so these faces there are basically that. You may recognize some of them, but for the most part you won't. So as you drift off into sleep, don't let that throw you. Just realize that a Kundalini awakening person attracts a lot of attention in the spiritual areas. A lot of attention. You are the end product of a whole series of lifetimes lived so that one can begin to enter into enlightenment. That's a big deal. And it's not just a big deal to you. It's a big deal to anyone who can observe you. And so you attract a lot of attention. And, in a Earth biological comparison, it's like bugs to a light. Bugs to a light. Not bugs to a flame, because the flame will often kill the bug. You're not killing anybody here. They're attracted by your enlightenment. You're the light that is shining through you and out from you in a divine radiance. Everything wants to get into the divine area. That's one of the targets of evolution is straight into divinity. And so, as you see these spaces before you drift off to sleep, basically you're seeing folks that are kind of like kicking the tires on the old human car there and wondering if that is the way they want to go. And then on the other side of the coin, there are people that have known you in the past and are watching you and sending you good thoughts, good prayers, maybe even some good advice, and trying to help you that way. Another thing that can happen to you in that state is the entities. The entities can come in and try to cause you problems or try to make you addicted to them or addicted to their interference in your system disguised as a gift of help. Once again, as I've said in other shows, I never, ever will suggest that you take up any kind of entity, discarnate-based assistance or communication. Ignore them completely. They themselves constitute a whole other test of how it is to have enlightenment and yet deal with the different bugs that come around you. Entities are those bugs. The other spiritual faces that you see, they're not causing you problems. They're just watching. The entities, many of them are there to scare you or cause you a problem, and they will try to infect your dreams. They will try to come into your dreams and manipulate the dreams, and sometimes they will be successful. And so I want you to kind of pay attention to what components of the dream make sense to you from a Kundalini symbolism standpoint. So one, I think, fairly constant bad dream brought about by entities is that you're dreaming about this old house. You're in this old house, and the old house is just really kind of torn up on the inside. And all of a sudden, an unseen force picks you up and throws you against the wall. Crash, you go into the wall. Throws you up on the ceiling. Crash into the ceiling. Throws you onto the floor. Crash into the floor. And because you're not expecting this to happen, it scares you to pieces, and you go into immediate fear, and then you just go into survival mode. And then there's a level of fear that is always situated about you, about going into the dream state, because you don't want to go back into that house. You don't want to have yourself scared to pieces. This is a gift of an entity. This is one reason why I'm going to say don't listen to the entities. Ignore what they say to you. Typically, they're just cussing and screaming at you anyway. But some of them, are more conversant, and so in the dream state, they will come to you, and they'll come to you in a certain form, and they'll try to work their way with you. And the Kundalini will allow this because the Kundalini wants you to make a choice. It wants you to make a definitive choice about how you want to hear the Kundalini, and also how are you going to deal with fear. So the entities from a fearful-based educational system will be used by the Kundalini to give you another level of fear testing. So understand this, know this, realize this, and then as you understand and realize, it won't be able to really have an effect on you. Knowledge is power in this case. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power in the dream state. If you know that you're dreaming, then you know you can change the dream. That's a lucid dream. Kundalini will bring you plenty of lucid dreams and plenty of out-of-body experiences that are basically, they're one step below a lucid dream. Okay. But the lucid dreams, you'll know you're dreaming. Therefore, you'll know that the Kundalini is with you in your dream. You know that. It's an intuitive knowledge that you have automatically. And wow, some really, really beautiful, wonderful experiences can happen with you as you begin to realize that the Kundalini is with you and you're having a lucid dream. Kundalini is allowing you to have a lucid dream, and that is definitely an allowance. With the astral projection, depending on a person's karma, excuse me a moment, depending on a person's karma, will determine whether the Kundalini allows you to have astral projection type experiences or not. Much of the time, you will need to go into refinement levels, which kind of preclude having the astral projection, but not so much precluding the lucid dreaming, which is more powerful anyway. So understand this. Understand that the whole dream life is an amazing system of education for you by your Kundalini, and it will dominate you that way. It may, depending on your karma, it may send you to hell. All of a sudden, you'll find yourself in a situation that resembles what you would understand hell to be, or heaven. Okay, it depends really on what it is you need to learn. The hell realms have very specific teachings, and I was there for about 2 years. The hell realms, they're not pleasant, number one. Number two, you're not harmed, although you're made to think that you're harmed. You're made to think that, oh my gosh, my feet really were put in a fire, and I really did see my sister being put into an oven. Okay, that type of imagery is fairly common, within the hell realm dream state. And the more you go into that, the more you begin to receive. You'll hear the animals here. The more you'll begin to receive information from the Kundalini on what you need to do to remove yourself from these hell realms, which is what happened to me. I was able to go, oh, okay, I need to do what I have written in an article. It's called the Crucible of Reversal. So the Crucible of Reversal is where you're given certain things to do by characters in the hell realm dream state. And you go, no. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. And then you wake up, and then you proceed to do the opposite of what you're instructed to do, and you begin to modify your behaviors into a loving-based system. And from that loving-based system, the hell realms became a source of loving interaction on the material realm, and that pretty much kicks you out of the hell realm. Okay, so remember that, the Crucible of Reversal. And, you're going to run into a lot of people that have different ideas about entities. Most of them don't really have concrete, authentic, Kundalini-based experience on what it is to deal with entities. You'll hear a lot of the common misconceptions that, oh, if you know them, then they have no power over you, or, things of that level. And it just doesn't work that way, because the Kundalini has a very specific reason why it's allowing you to experience this. It's not an accident. Yes, it is a big aquarium out there, but just knowing an entity does not give you control over it. This really comes from an ego-based understanding and ideology of control. If you know it, then you control it. Or if you say, be gone in the name of Jesus Christ, well, then you control it, or any of these things. And these just don't really apply to a Kundalini type of scenario. Kundalini is teaching you how to work with your fear. It's teaching you how to work with your fear. You don't get to work with your fear if you're just going, oh, hey, Fred, I know you, therefore I have power over you. That doesn't really help you work with your fear. What helps you work with your fear is by actually experiencing it and moving through it so that you can make the behavioral changes that allow, the presence of the Kundalini to blossom within you. And here's the thing. You're going to hear this telephone. I always seem to get a call during these programs, so my apologies. So the scenario is, don't take advice from people that don't have the Kundalini up and going, and that they haven't they haven't really had the dream experiences. They haven't had the visions. They haven't had the waking experience of the actual Kundalini coming through them. A lot of people want to have it. They desperately want to have it. They desperately want to be known as a teacher of this or that. But unless, and you can really test them verifiably with whether or not they're coming from an authentic standpoint. So with Kundalini scenarios, and I'm not talking about Reiki, I'm not talking about yoga, I'm not talking about astrological or tarot cards or mediumship or any of those things. I'm not talking about any of these systems that are really, quite different from the Kundalini itself. I'm talking about the Kundalini. And don't take advice from people that don't have the Kundalini, or you can't at least feel confident that they have the Kundalini. Okay? Like some people, they don't, they hear me and they just go, oh my God, this guy's a mess. It's true. So, let your Kundalini instruct you on who is the appropriate teacher for you to have. Don't let yourself be fooled by those who would want to have it but don't. Don't let yourself be fooled by people that would like to have knowledge, and they've created a system where they can expound on subjects that would seemingly reflect a certain level of authentic knowledge, but in actuality don't. Don't depend on archangels, for instance. Don't depend on archangels. Don't depend on angels at all. On the same side, don't depend on demons or devils or any of that stuff. Kundalini steps far outside of that. Now, if you are a Christian person, you're having Kundalini, and in your dreams, you may see some angels and devils and whatnot. Saint Teresa of Avila, she had some of these experiences. So I'm not saying that they're not present, based upon the level of consciousness that a person is having will determine what the Kundalini adopts as appropriate symbology for that person to learn from in the dream state. It makes sense. If you're a devout Christian, then you're going to have some Christian symbols coming to you. Within that understanding, it makes sense. The Kundalini knows you, and so it knows that the person is of a certain belief system, and within that belief system, it will begin to teach the person. What I'm talking about are these people in the New Age areas where, I had a problem the other day, and I just called on Archangel Michael, and he came over with his flaming sword and pumped my tire up as I was stranded on the freeway, or some other such. I hesitate to call it anything. Some other such interactions with people. No, you don't need to trust. That's just basically entities disguising themselves as archangel this or that, or supreme commander of some galactic fleet, or this or that. I mean, some of it, some of the information may even be, sound good, but it's not. It's not coming from an authentic source. You go within and you listen to your inner divinity, which is your Kundalini. And within that context, your dream life will work for you, even if it needs to be difficult. It's very similar to when I'm teaching people to do the safety protocols. One of the aspects of the safety protocols is the 5 Tibetans. Say, okay, I want you to spin to the right 21 times. And you're supposed to be dizzy. Well, everybody's going, oh, my gosh, I'm dizzy, and I just feel so, oh, my gosh. And I said, well, you're supposed to be dizzy. So, leads right into the next one. You lay down, and you do the second Tibetan. So the scenario is as you are dizzy, certain things in a positive level are happening to you that your ego consciousness will not know. It's the same in the dream life. If you're having a bad dream or you're being visited by dogs with red eyes that want to bite you. Well, there's a positivity that is happening there. You just have to recognize it. You just have to recognize it. And that is why I'm doing this radio program, so that you can begin to understand some of the cues that the Kundalini is giving you in order that you may recognize it. Okay? These are cues that are being given to you so that you may recognize it. And you'll get confirmation. You'll get confirmation. So, for instance, say you get swallowed by the big snake in the dream, right? As I mentioned earlier. Well, you wake up inside the dream still, but you're immediately transported into this beautiful area, and you're given this wonderful sensation of having passed the test. You have passed the fear test. And it's the same with the dog, the black dog with the red glowing eyes, coming to bite you. Don't let him just bite your wrist. Give him your whole arm. Don't be afraid is the main thing. Fear and Kundalini, basically, when you put fear into Kundalini, you're receiving an invitation to Kundalini syndrome, and which we talked about last week. So you don't need to do that. You don't need to make that choice. But through our programming on this world, our programming on this earth, it indicates that A plus B equals C. If you put your hand in the snake's mouth, it's going to bite you and it's going to hurt. You might die. Well, that's not the same in the dream state. That's not the same at all. If you put if a tiger climbs onto your bed in the physical reality, there's a good chance that you're not going to leave that bed alive. But in the dream state, that's just not the case. You have to remember, Kundalini is coming to you as symbols of apex predators, not as the actual apex predator, even though your interactions, with these animals, if you come across them in the wild, will definitely be influenced by the Kundalini. But during the dream experience, they are not to be understood as actual wild animals. They are to be understood now, with your new understanding, as communications from your Kundalini. And it'll be everything from a praying mantis to an African lion. I mean, there's really no limit to what the divine can do. There's really no limit at all. And so it can come to you in many of the various animal forms, but typically, and I'm not saying every time, but typically it will come to you as an apex predator. Another example of a dream state scenario is an instruction to bring more fluid into your system. Say that you're dehydrating yourself because you don't know what to do. You don't know, you haven't read the safeties, and you don't know that you need to hydrate yourself. You need to replace the electrolytes. Kundalini will burn up electrolytes pretty quick. And so you'll receive a dream. And in the dream, you might be swimming in this beautiful clear lake, and a bolt of lightning will hit the lake. You get it? Get the water and the electricity, and this equals electrolytes. Have the electrolytes, or even a glass of water that is set on a table and a bolt of lightning hits the water. Well, that's the Kundalini telling you to get more water and get more electrolytes in your system, especially when you're at the stage where the adrenals are expanding and the kidneys are expanding. It will come to you in the dream state with very, very specific instruction, but typically not spoken instruction. Although it's not limited, it can talk to you as well. Some of you may hear a voice that's saying, "Drink more water." That's all you'll hear. You may just hear the voice, "Drink more water." And you want to pay attention to that. It's something that needs to go into your journal. Okay? These are some of the examples that I'm giving you that allow you to understand how huge and important the dream state is to the Kundalini awakening experience of people. Once again, Kundalini has its own dream language that does not include, hardly at all really, a lot of the, the New Age, spiritual, psychological understandings of what dreams mean. Okay, it's all about helping you with your Kundalini awakening experience, allowing you to come into this in a way that is beneficial to yourself, but to other people around you. You remember, I had mentioned in a few other programs this level of radiance that comes from a Kundalini awakened person. This level of radiance, even before the person is really, awakened into the full mode of awakening, even before that, their radiance is going out there. And if they're in say they're in Kundalini Sundar, well, they're having radiance, but they're carrying a wave of fear on that radiance, and it can really disrupt people around you, animals around you, the physical and social, biological environment around you. And so begin to look at your dreams as a way of interacting with your radiance that allows a beautiful experience, a beautiful, loving experience, a fearless experience to be had by everyone around you, everything around you. You are entering into what is the truth of enlightenment, not the wannabe enlightenment, not the, I'm buying a mastership for $30, by this person doing this or that. I'm talking about the real deal, the part of you that has worked lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in order to refine yourself to the point where you can begin to have the divine infusion come within you, the divine transformation happen to you. I have a student earlier today, and we're doing Kundalini exercises. And one of the exercises is, okay, I want you to see a staircase, and I want you to look at the steps on that staircase. And I say, this is the karma staircase. This is the staircase. Every step that goes up this staircase represents a life that you have lived in order to come to this point of Kundalini awakening. Every step is a life. And by your grace, by the tenacity within you and the love within you and the ability to make the best choices by you, you have been given this opportunity to express within the divine flesh context. So walk up these steps and recognize what it is that is happening to you and what you have done, and how grateful you can be for having been given this opportunity at evolution, spiritual evolution in the body, and in this case, in the many bodies. Okay. A person could dream of this. This person could go to bed tonight and dream of the karmic staircase and begin to look at the different lives that they have had, and to get a reference point for what it is that's actually going on in a much larger perspective than, say, a single life. Okay, and I'm not talking about Akashic records or don't even get me started on that. But what I'm talking about is direct spiritual evolution. Okay, direct spiritual evolution, which is what the Kundalini brings to a person. Now, I have another person who is just terrified as of 5 days ago. This person was absolutely terrified of what was happening to them. And the only reason they were terrified of what was happening to them was because they didn't have reference point for what was occurring. This is why we're doing these programs, and so that people can have reference points for what is happening to them without the traces of somebody taking advantage of them or wanting to buy their book or buy their product or buy this or that. Without any of the fixations of ego, just a straight across the radio waves or the computer waves, however this is working, straight to you. And I invite you to take what you want and throw away what doesn't make sense to you, but be careful about what it is you throw away, because it may be the very next experience that you're going to have. Okay? Understand this. Recognize this. Allow yourself to be moved in the dream state. You may find yourself flying a lot. You don't necessarily need to be lucid when you're flying. It's just, part of it is the Kundalini letting you know that, the spirit has taken flight. This is when the Kundalini comes up in a person, out the top of the head. The spirit has taken flight. This is why you see the wings on the doctor's caduceus, that they don't really have a clue about. The wings are the 7 chakras have been enlightened, and the spirit has now taken flight. And that may come to you in the dream state as a way of acknowledging that, yes, indeed, you are in the Kundalini process. And now you get to have an opportunity of living redefinition of your spiritual priorities, of your spiritual evolutionary priorities. I had plenty of these during the early aspect of my awakening. And I'll suggest that many of these dream symbols and dream situations will also carry over into your personal situation, whether you're just starting on this path or you're just, you've been on this path for a long time. Some of you will recognize what it is I've been talking about. Some of you. Some of you are so new at it that you're just kind of going, wow, I have to be eaten by a giant snake. I'm not, that doesn't sound right to me. Believe me, I get it. It's not, it's, from a physical-based standpoint, it's not the most inviting proposition to be eaten by a giant snake. I got it. You don't see flocks of people heading down to Brazil and going to the wildest regions of the Amazon going, oh, anaconda, come and eat me because I want to spiritually evolve. Well, you definitely will spiritually evolve if you're eaten by an anaconda. I mean, you'll go right to source. What I'm talking about is being fearless of the Kundalini consuming you, taking over every cell, every hair follicle, everything of your body. That's what I'm talking about here. And that's what the Kundalini is talking about, too. It's not talking about eating you. That's just a symbol of it. But it's also getting rid of your fear of it. Okay? It's getting rid of your fear. And as you get rid of your fear, you begin to distance yourself from the Kundalini syndrome. You begin to distance yourself from the effects of negative entities. You begin to distance yourself from things that will impede your process of Kundalini awakening. And so remember not to take it literally in the physical. I don't want you going to Brazil and introducing yourself to an anaconda and saying, eat me, giant snake, I want my Kundalini. It's not going to work that way. It has to come with you in the dream state, or a waking vision state, which is another form of the dream state. And I'll go into this a little bit right now. With the waking vision, you're being given an opportunity by the Kundalini, by the divine male and the divine female. You're being given an opportunity to begin to bridge the divide between 5 sense physical understanding and infinite sense spiritual understanding. So a bridge has been built, and so what will happen is during your waking state, you will have a teaching vision come to you, or you may be invited to sit on a cushion in front of an enlightened individual and receive teachings from them in the waking state. You will actually, in a way, bilocate from, say, if you're sitting in an easy chair like I am right now, you'll actually float off on a cushion in front of that enlightened personage, and you'll receive those teachings at the same time that you're sitting in your easy chair. Okay, this begins to open one up into the interdimensionality, I don't know if I'm saying that right, of the Kundalini, the multi-reality aspect of Kundalini, the fact that the Kundalini can dominate and change any of our fixation on what is an immutable law of physics. Okay, divinity is not limited by the scientific understanding of physics by any stretch. Okay, divinity isn't even recognized by science. Okay, so divinity does not have scientific limitation, and so as it comes to you in a waking vision, just accept it. And at first it may be a little scary. Yes, it may be a little scary, or even a lot scary for you. But once again, much of what the Kundalini is doing with you is beginning to train you not to be afraid. And this is in the dream and vision and waking state. You have an amazing partnership with divinity. And divinity will help you along your path as long as you're willing to surrender to that help while you're on the path. The more you resist in the dream state or in the physical state, if you're resisting, you probably won't get the vision state so much. But the more you resist and the more you try to control the situation, the more difficult your situation is going to become. That is a typical truth within the Kundalini understandings. You don't get to control divinity. Divinity will tell you how to do certain things within the physical area, like teeth behind the tongue behind the upper front teeth, forefinger, thumb, fingertip, joined together. Divinity will give that instruction, though. Eat more watermelon, have more electrolytes, stop drinking caffeine, stop having artificial sugars, stop having processed sugars or flours, go organic, no GMOs, things like that. The divinity will give you that advice. But you don't get to control it. You don't get to say, well, forget you. I'm on a Monsanto diet. I want to eat weed killer. Okay, so you don't get to control the Kundalini that way. You just don't. As a matter of fact, you don't get to control the Kundalini at all. It will control you completely. But it gives you levels of freedom so that you can make the appropriate decisions and appropriate choices. Kundalini wants you to make these choices and these appropriate decisions. You understand? It wants you to evolve, and it's there to help you evolve. It's not there to torture you or to hurt you or to play around with you. That's what the entities are for. Okay. So let that be another red flag about communicating with these entities, whether they seem nice or not. Don't even go into that with it. Just ignore them. Absolutely ignore them. Now, within the dream state, the hell realms, the heaven realm. Let me talk to you about the heaven realm. The heaven realms are where you see many of the outcomes that you can have reference for. Most of the divine you have no reference for, and so therefore it won't make sense to you at all. But there's an amazing feeling of love. There's an amazing feeling of acceptance. There's an amazing feeling of recognition that, this is this is home. There's that amazing feeling and sensation. Yes, if you look at Robin Williams' film, What Dreams May Come, that's a very that's a nice, minuscule, tiny little taste of what the heaven realms can be. And not all heaven realms, there's gradations of heaven realms, just like there's gradations of hell realms, and just like there's gradations of physical realms too. So, just understand this, and some of these may come to you in your dreams as well. And just welcome the teachings. You don't always have to have a fear-based teaching. I may be focusing a little bit more on these because I want to steer people away from going into fear. Fearlessness is the way to go. It is the way to go, and it's the way your Kundalini is teaching you to go. But it's going to teach you to become fearless by using fear. You don't tell someone, oh, be fearless and it'll be fine. That doesn't help people. People have to experience within themselves what it is to be afraid, along the lines of their own spiritual evolution, what it is to be afraid, and then what it is to overcome that fear. This is an internal process between you and your Kundalini. And remember, I'm always speaking, on these programs within a Kundalini context, unless otherwise indicated. Okay? All right, this is about 14 minutes, and I will open the phone lines here. The call-in number is 347-934-0026. And once again, that's 347-934-0026. Dreams are hugely important. So let me do a quick review. I would strongly begin to have a dream journal. Please start your dream journal. It is not a hard thing to do. And as I said, it doesn't have to be a pen and paper. It could be one of those little recording devices. I forget what they call them, personal recording device, voice-activated record, whatever it is. You can get them over at Radio Shack or Target or Walmart or wherever. And internationally, I'm sure that if you can't get them in your stores internationally, you can get them on the web. Okay, and this is as easy as reaching over and going, okay, I had a dream. A giant snake said to me, "Will you let me eat you or not?" which actually, you'll get the talking snakes too. I mean, it's a real deal. But it's always within a Kundalini context. And I forgot to mention the spiders. You will dream about spiders. There'll be big spiders, there'll be small spiders, and I know we have a lot of folks out there that are arachnophobic. But these spiders, the golden spiders, the silver spiders, you will not receive waves of fear from this, except from your ego. But in many cases, the ego will be ameliorated by the Kundalini. The Kundalini will kind of put a dampening field over the arachnophobic aspects of the person's ego, so that they don't go, well, yeah, I have to say, I had my first experience with the spiders was really stunning. It was a stunning experience. I mean, a huge spider, the size of a plate, and I think I was meditating, and it just, I had my eyes kind of slightly open so I could kind of see what was in the room, and that thing slid past me on a silk cord, and I couldn't believe it. I leaped out of that bed. I pulled those covers back. I moved that bed. I moved that mattress. I moved everything in that room. I wanted to know where that spider was. It was huge. So, I didn't get the filtration. Of course, I didn't get a lot of stuff that it will be offered to you, because I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the information. Therefore, I had no reference points. You have reference points. You have reference points. And if you haven't got them from the books that you've been reading or from anything else that you've been doing, you got them from this radio show. Okay, use them. Go to the archives, listen to this over and over again, make notes. Make notes of what is challenging to you. And go into your dream life it's not all about reviving your physical body. It's not about that at all. It's about stepping into the spiritual realm every single night. Yes, your body gets to go into the theta wave state, and yes, your body gets to rebuild and all this. But your spirit is doing all kinds of other things. And when you have Kundalini, your spirit is being trained to accept the many, many, many facets of Kundalini that exist within the spiritual, physical equation. Remember, a Kundalini person is being changed into a divine person, a divine embodiment, a divine embodiment. This is what every saint had to go through. Every real saint, not a political saint, but a real saint. Every saint, like St. Teresa of Avila, had to go through this. St. Hildegard had to go through this. St. John of the Cross had to go through this. These many, many saints, St. Francis of Assisi, they had to go through the Kundalini awakening process. And if you look at some of their books that they have written, they will start describing in a Christian context many of the phenomena that I'm describing in this radio show. You'll see direct reference to what we're talking about today. I have experienced these things. You may experience these things too, but within your own personal equation. Now, with Kundalini, I'm going to suggest that you really, Kundalini Dream State, I'm going to suggest that you really begin to loosen yourself from many, many of the jillions of spiritual practices that are offered now, especially, coming up to 2012. Oh, my gosh, everybody was getting ready for catastrophe, and, we had the 5D thing and the 3D thing and the 9D thing and the 12D thing and let's have 12-string DNA or 12-strand DNA and all of this stuff. And let me tell you, the human system doesn't really need to be improved on. Divinity did quite a nice job with it just the way it is. There really is no spiritual practice that will do what the Kundalini is there to do for you. That is where you strive to go. Now, I'm not going to say all these spiritual practices are bogus or wrong to do, but for those of you that have Kundalini, I would suggest that you focus just on the Kundalini. Don't try to change your DNA. Don't try to change whatever dimension, you're operating from. Just be happy with the physical dimension that you have and then the divine or spiritual dimension that you have when you sleep. Be happy with the equation that has been devised by the divinity itself. You don't need to go into these other things. I mean, first of all, a lot of it's just from the ego. Oh, I want to set myself apart from other people, and so all of a sudden I have 12 strands of DNA instead of 2. Come on. Look at where the ego is within these structures, and then make your determination based upon that. I'm sorry if I step on people's toes to a degree within a Kundalini context, so I'm not sorry at all. This is, these are levels of truth that people need to understand. People are often like flocks of sheep. The more people they get doing what it is they're doing, then therefore the more real it is what it is they're doing. With Kundalini, Kundalini doesn't care whether you have people doing, receiving the Kundalini around you. For the most part, you don't. It's only on the web where Kundalini people can really come together at these seminars. Oh, that reminds me. Amelia, can you make your announcement again?
Yes, I can, of course. The Kundalini Awakening Retreat is happening in Santa Rosa on April the 20th and the 21st. And it is being led by Chrism. And on this retreat, again, let me just say that the emphasis is going to be on helping each person find his or her own unique path into the grace that is their Kundalini Awakening journey. And the cost is €200. And if you are interested in securing a place, then write to me at kundalinimatters@gmail.com, and I can give you details on how to proceed with that. It promises to be a really great gathering and a lovely retreat, and I hope that you can join us.
Thank you, Santara. I try to spend as much time with you as I possibly can. That first day, I will answer any question that you have, or at least the Kundalini will answer any question that you have, and you'll be in the presence of people that are actually having the Kundalini enlightenment right now. Okay. These things are not that common. I don't do that many anymore. I was doing a lot 2009, 2010, but not so much these days. With regards to it's $200, not €200, so that means it's about 15 euros. But the way the dollar's going, it's about 15 or 20 euros. But
$200, yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. I just wanted people to know. A lot of people don't know how many dollars a euro is worth. So with that in mind. So look at this. Try your best to start that dream journal. Try not to depend on other dream interpretive devices, books, people, whatever, if they don't have an understanding of the apex predatorship of certain animals within the Kundalini context, or if they, if it feels like they're coming more from ego than anything else, or they're really just trying to reach into your wallet. Really be aware of that. Really understand that the Kundalini has a very, very, very specific format of dream integration and interpretation for you to learn from, and it will teach you. You will learn this because it will come at you over and over and over again in different ways that allow you to understand that this is, once again, this is a unique situation. Not that many people are having Kundalini, so therefore you don't run into a lot of literature about how to interpret a Kundalini-based dream. Okay. I've been interpreting these dreams almost daily for people for years now, and it's not what you think with regards to a dream dictionary or any of those things that you'll find in Barnes and Noble. Actually, there isn't a dream book on Kundalini yet. I may just have to take care of that. Anyway,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
We have about 3.5 minutes left, and I'll go ahead and put the numbers out there again, 347-934-0026. I would like to welcome and express my gratitude for everyone who's been listening to this in the archives. The archives are extremely special. I mean, you can listen to this whenever you want, but I'm also going to suggest that you go ahead and just make it a CD, so you can listen to it in the car or whenever. There's a lot of information. I'm giving you like an hour and a half of information that's almost a feature-length movie time of information. You may not be able to to bring it all in. There is one thing I do want to mention before we go away is the level of your activities within the cinema or books or the media. If you start going into a lot of terrible type of gruesome movies, then you may see the Kundalini repeat that within your dream experience. Pay attention to the safeties where it talks about programming, and don't allow yourself to be programmed into fear. It is not necessary, and it can manifest itself with you as the unwitting victim of whatever Hollywood-based fear scenario is being put out there. I just saw Django Unchained, and I don't recommend it for Kundalini people. Do not see that movie. That's not going to help you at all in your Kundalini context. So there you go. There's just now, of course, you're all going to flock out there to see that movie. I know how it works. But I don't recommend it, and I give extreme compassion for the African Americans that had to suffer the American slavery period of 400 or 500 years. All right, they just gave me the 90-second warning, so I just want to say love to you all. Love and enlightenment, blessings and bliss to all of you. Thank you for listening. I look forward to talking with you again next week, same time, same station, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.